What is Skid Row? So the words Skid Row, they originated in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle specifically was when the first time that really the words got used. And it was associated with the lumberjack community. When the lumberjack and the timber community, they would fell timber and they would drag the timber to the harbor, and that was a skid road. They would skid the lumber to the harbor along this skid road. So who does that in the 1800s but a bunch of lumberjacks, and those type of roughneck lumberjacks in the 1800s need supporting services like bars, casinos, and brothels and the like. And so that's what built up around the skid road. And so that's where that term comes from. So now anytime that you have in any neighborhood that type of activity, that underbelly of life, that prostitution, the drinking, the ongoings of that, the homelessness, it's been called Skid Row. You know, do people come down here because this is where the services are? Yep. Are the services essentially located here because they can't be anywhere else? Yep. And so what does that mean? It means that there's lots of communities around here that don't want homelessness, right? Nobody wants homelessness in their yard, but not necessarily do they have the fortitude to bring the services to their communities. So there are often individuals bussed down here to Skid Row on a daily basis to take advantage of the services, whether that's the mental health services, the shelter services, the food, whatever those things are. And then at night they get picked up and they get bussed out to overnight shelter somewhere. So the end result of all that is it's overburdened. The resources need to be spread out through the community, through the county. All of the weight of that cannot be handled here in Skid Row. The services are taxed. There's just no more room in the services or on the streets. But ultimately, we have a housing crisis. You know, here at the Midnight Mission, we try to focus on self-sufficiency and removing the obstacles that keep people on the street. That's great. We're going to give you a foundation. We're going to set you up. We're going to get you ready for work, and we're going to get you stable, and then prepare you, hopefully for long-term self-sufficiency. But you still need a house to go to. We're out of homes down here. There's a housing shortage. It's a housing crisis. So ultimately, we need to build more homes. We need to build more living space for the people in our community. Success rates of getting up and out of Skid Row now is not really the goal, right? Leaving Skid Row is not necessarily the goal anymore. The goal is to create housing in this neighborhood. It's a neighborhood now. It's a community of its own. It used to just be you push and push and push and push, and now there's nowhere else for Skid Row to go. There's nowhere else in the community for it to exist. You're in an industrial area for the most part, and it's time that these places, that the people in this community have homes to live in. So what does that mean? That means development down here. That means people need to take it upon themselves to develop this area and provide the housing that's needed, because it is a community. And so getting up and getting out of Skid Row, I think, is not necessarily the goal anymore. I think that the short answer is yes, there are more people taking advantages of the services in Skid Row, because, part of that is because it's some of the services, it's the only place they're provided. So it's that again. There was a recent count, and I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but trends would suggest that, that the numbers are going up, that there is more people out on the street. That's a function of early releases from jails. It's a function of laws that are making what were once more serious crimes less serious, so people aren't going to jail as much in the beginning. And it's a result of really, a lot of mental illness and a lot of addiction issues where, there are more people out on the street right now. There just are. There is a great deal of hope and a great deal of success and a great deal of inspiration and passion for the people that are here, and a lot of good things happening. I think that often gets overlooked. Is Skid Row ever going to go away? No, it's just going to improve. People are going to start building down here, and it's going to develop into its own community. And that's what's going to happen down here long term, is that it will be just another neighborhood in Los Angeles. After many years of drug and alcohol abuse, I was homeless. I have some friends that are sober a very long time and some cousins that were sober, and what happened was they knew about this place and I didn't. So the first time I came here I was looking for help. I have had a long history of drugs and alcohol abuse, and it's not really a story unlike anybody else that comes down here. When I came to the Midnight Mission, I had a backpack and got dropped off by my family, and they were done because they could do nothing else, right? Not because people didn't love me or help me or reach out. It's just at that point there was nothing they could do, and so they dropped me off here. Knew nothing about the Midnight Mission. Knew a lot about drugs and alcohol, and a lot about surviving on the street and doing what you have to do that. My childhood wasn't unlike anybody else's. It wasn't particularly different, but I used drugs and alcohol that whole time, every opportunity I could get. I never saw the negative consequences of my drinking and using. Never associated that with drinking alcohol. Just always associated that with whatever it was going on with me. I mean, after 30 years I had lost homes and jobs and relationships with my family, and I was sleeping in the field outside. It's just going through the motions of alcoholism. Physical withdrawals, the physical symptoms were unbearable. Going through DTs, laying in a field knowing that, my life was at an end if I continued to drink, but also in the same breath knowing that the first thing I would do was drink. And I would do anything necessary to get it. And that's the way I lived for some time. After coming to the mission, I wasn't really looking to get sober anymore. I just figured I was done. I had run with my family. And I didn't really expect my life to continue the way it has. When I came here, I found out quickly, because I'm good in programs. I've spent time in jail, and I've done many treatment programs. And what I know about that is, you just do certain things, and you get through with little trouble. And that's what I came here for. I just figured I would do a little bit of stuff, whatever they asked me to do, and pretty soon it would all wash over. And my family would take me back, and my daughter's mom would, find a way again to, believe that what was happening was real. And she didn't, because it wasn't for so long. And she left me here, left me while I was here, for real and for good this time. And so there was that to deal with. Being so far away from my daughter was a lot to deal with. And so I just became willing to do what they wanted me to do here. Everybody that comes to the mission gets a job, and my job is in public affairs. And what I quickly found out is there was a difference between people that were coming and volunteering and expecting something out of that, as opposed to people that weren't expecting anything. There was real service work happening here by people that were absolutely coming to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. Those volunteers really started to fix me in a way inside that I needed, that I didn't know I needed, and definitely wasn't looking for. I got involved in an emotional way. I got emotionally involved with what this place was doing for people outside the street, but also, just as importantly, for the volunteers that were coming here. It was giving them an opportunity to be in touch with something that I needed to find inside. And when I did that in a real way, and by doing that I mean become really emotionally involved in being honest with myself and what this program had to offer, it was able to had a transformation here that, has really led to the reality of long-term sobriety for me. And it was never, more than a month without my daughter. My parents and my family saw to that. So having my daughter go through the experiences with me, it's meant a lot. I don't, I don't pretend with my daughter. She's young, but I don't lie to her about what the condition is. She understands that it's alcoholism. Because I tell her, she knows what it is to see me drunk and loaded, and she also knows what it is to see me sober, and she understands that, I'm sober, as a result of coming here, and that means that I can't go home. That I wouldn't be going back to live with her and her mom is what that meant. That my life here had begun to take shape in a way, again, out of my control. I just kept saying yes. I kept showing up, first to keep my bed, and then because I became invested in what this place was doing. After my year stay here, the Midnight Mission offered me a full-time job. And I didn't have anything else going on, so I took it. By this point I was speaking, wherever I was asked to, and that included City Hall, it included, universities and schools, and wherever they wanted me to talk, on behalf of the Midnight Mission and what was happening here for me and the, thousands of people that we serve daily, and what was happening here. And so, I was a spokesman for that. I was and honored to do so. It saved my life. And so that has translated, 3.5 years later into, I'm the manager of government and public affairs. How does that happen for a drug addict like me? For an alcoholic who has destroyed everything good in his life? It happened because they asked and I kept saying yes. That's what it all really started. I just kept saying yes. And they kept asking. It's my experience that if you want people's trust, then you need to act trustworthy. It's really that simple. But that was not always easy for an alcoholic like me. I was not being given very many opportunities to act trustworthy, and that's what the Midnight Mission did. They gave me an opportunity to act trustworthy. They didn't know me, so they couldn't trust me on face value. But they gave me that opportunity, and because I acted trustworthy, I built their trust over time. They trust me with messaging of what this organization does. It's a 100-year-old organization, and for all intent and purpose, I'm on the face of that, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. It's something that they have honored me with, and it's something that I am honored to do. I have a really, really full life, and that's really a result of staying sober and being of service to people in a way that I was shown here.
I think the drugs and the alcohol are probably the biggest problem that's on Skid Row right now. Because there's just so much out there, it's a way for somebody to get out of itself where they don't have to think about the other problems in life that by doing drugs and alcohol, you kind of forget about it for a moment, but it comes back even stronger. What it does is bring on a lot of depressions and all that other stuff. And when you're depressed, you're looking for something outside of you to make you feel better. Even if it's only for a minute or two. You just have to want it. You have to want it. You have to have the means. You can't get out there with no money. You can, because there's homelessness all over Los Angeles. There's homelessness all over the United States, not just on the Skid Row area. You go to a lot of neighborhoods and stuff, you got people, sleeping in tents or underneath freeways and stuff like that, that don't want to be on Skid Row because there's a whole bunch of people down here and they don't want to really be around a lot of people. So, the homelessness is a big problem, I think all over the world. I know all over the United States is just kind of real big here because of the weather and everything like that, you know. So I think it's kind of draw a lot of people to it, Los Angeles. You meet all kinds, you know, financially, mentally, mostly financially, you know, and to be able to go to a place where you can afford, you know. I mean, because there's a lot of places out here we can't really, you know, you can't really afford, you know. More affordable housing would help out a lot. You know, and it's getting there. You know, I know on Skid Row there's a lot of affordable housing and stuff, you know, but you're still down here. You know, for a minute there I thought it was going, then it kind of increased a little bit, you know. You know, it's kind of up and down a little bit. I think they come for a minute, then they go away. You know, it's really hard to say. You know, everything depends on the economy a little bit, you know, where people can, you know, get out there and get them something, you know. I mean, because sometimes things just happen and people end up down here. And sometimes when you're down here, it's kind of hard to get out. You're stuck, you know. You're just in a vicious cycle going around and around in a circle. And it seems like there's no way out, but there is a way out, you know. You just have to trust and believe that you can get out, and I think it can happen for you. That would be beautiful if it didn't, you know. And, you know, I would love to be put out of a job, you know, if places, homelessness, I ain't gonna say Skid Row, but homelessness, you know, just wasn't around anymore, you know, and that would be fantastic. I mean, everybody had a place to go, everybody had a place to stay, you know, no more sleeping on the streets or, you know, anything like that. I think that, you know, I would love for that to happen one day, you know, so maybe one day it will. You billionaires, you know, help us out, you know. Give some houses away or something like that, you know. You know, we're all human, you know, we all deserve a place to live, something to eat, you know.